Let's get some more analysis now of the catastrophic humanitarian crisis that's unfolding in Gaza. Chris Doyle joins me. He's the director at the Council of Arab-British Understanding. Welcome to you, Chris. Starvation, it takes time, doesn't it? Especially as we've heard, some of the people in Gaza are going without food to give it to their children. So if people, they're surviving on one meal a day. It takes time, but the end result's pretty inevitable, isn't it? That we start to see the result being death from malnutrition. What I don't understand, why is Israel preventing civilians and often children from having food to eat? Do you know why?
It's a very good question, and I think this needs to be put to the Israeli leaders and officials who are doing this. Starvation as a weapon of war is a war crime, it's a crime against humanity, it's unconscionable. When Russia did this in Ukraine, European states, the Americans, all called it out and imposed sanctions and the like. It must not be allowed to continue. But let me just say one thing, that the starvation that's being brought about has been fast, in part because, of course, there was actually malnutrition even before the 7th of October, that we saw a population that was 80% aid dependent. This was not a healthy population beforehand. The water in Gaza has been unfit even for animal use for a long, long time. So this is a population that wasn't entirely healthy beforehand. And of course, with the imposition of a total siege in October by Israel, the occupying power, it has exacerbated those pre-existing health concerns to a stage now where you've got children being starved to death. If you look at the figures, well over 500,000 Palestinians are in that category of being starved. And I say being starved. It's not an accident of some earthquake or natural disaster. It's a deliberate policy of a state that is widely lauded in Europe and the United States as a democracy, but it is actually starving a civilian population, an act of collective punishment of quite unimaginable, horrific standards. It's amazing we are seeing this, and they could do so much more. And we're looking at a situation also that even since the International Court of Justice, the world's most senior legal body, ordered Israel to facilitate the entry of humanitarian aid in Gaza. Well, in the past month, since those provisional measures were ordered by the court, we've seen a 50% reduction in the numbers of trucks being allowed to enter Gaza. And according to Médecins Sans Frontières, that actually some items have basically had extremely long hold-ups through the Israeli supervisory process. They monitor every single truck that goes into Gaza. If there's something in it they don't like, it can't go in. That sometimes products have taken up to a month to get in. This is a situation of acute humanitarian need, and to stop the entry of such goods is unconscionable. It needs to stop, and it needs determined international action.
Chris, something I don't understand, having grown up myself in the UK, it's made very clear to you when you listen to politicians, when you listen to the media, they paint it in black and white on all stories internationally, between good and bad. When you see innocent people suffering, whatever the country, the politicians come out, the media come out, they say this is wrong, something has to be done, there's condemnation, the politicians usually take action. And we saw it, for example, in Ukraine. Innocent people are dying in Ukraine, something has to be done, and they acted very, very swiftly with their sanctions. It's incomprehensible to me how, with all the information from independent agencies, aid agencies coming out and saying what's happening in Gaza, there's no intervention. There are no sanctions. What is happening?
You're absolutely right. This is a conflict that the world is watching. We know what is going on. There is, even despite the fact that international journalists can't get proper access into Gaza, there is so much evidence of what's going on. It's on our screens, it's on the front pages, and yet we do nothing. There are a lot of conflicts where such things go on, but they aren't in the headlines. They are ignored. That is a huge problem. Let's not try to diminish that. But this particular conflict gets a lot of attention when it involves Israel. And therefore, we know what's going on. And these leading powers, including my own country, Britain, are doing nothing. They see it in their vested self-interest. A lot of these political leaders, we have an election year in Britain, we have an election year in the United States, are playing domestic politics over a major international conflict and a humanitarian catastrophe. And that is utterly shameful. They are thinking about how to position themselves in front of their electorates. They are looking at ways of using Islamophobia, of using culture wars, of stirring things up, as opposed to getting that aid into Gaza and getting that immediate ceasefire we've all been calling for. Proper accountability for what's going on, no matter which party we're talking about. They should be in front of the ICC. They should be facing investigation. This is just not happening. And as you say, it does in other conflicts. And it brings into sharp focus what is the future of the international rules-based system? What is the point of international law? It should apply to your friends as well as your foes.
Yeah, you put it very, very clearly and perfectly understood. Appreciate your analysis. My guest, Chris Doyle, Director at the Council of Arab-British Understanding.
Thank you.